Hey everyone, it's Eric. Let me ask you something. Take a look around your room. Do you see a guitar in the corner just collecting dust? Or maybe a stack of books on your shelf you've only got a few pages into? How about a fitness app on your phone that you used, what, exactly once? Yeah, if any of that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone.
It's kind of funny, right? We're all experts at starting things. We get this massive burst of energy and passion for a new diet, a new side hustle, a new skill we want to learn. But the problem is, we almost never see it through. That super motivated day one gets followed by a day two full of excuses, and then pretty much nothing. And what do? We blame ourselves. I'm just lazy, or I guess I don't have enough willpower. But what if all of that is just wrong? Today, we're going to dive into the book Finish by Jon Acuff, and his main idea might just change the way you see everything. He says, look, you're not lazy. The real problem, the thing that's really holding you back, is something else entirely.
Okay, so let's get right to it. The real villain that's sabotaging all of your goals isn't a lack of discipline, it's perfectionism. And it turns out that the one thing we're often taught is a good thing, a virtue, is actually the biggest wall standing between us and the finish line. So let's make this crystal clear. It is time to stop blaming yourself for being lazy or not having enough willpower. The real issue, hiding in plain sight, is our obsession with being perfect. And once you really get this shift in perspective, everything else we're going to talk about starts to make sense. So how does perfectionism actually trip us up? Well, it sets these three deadly traps. First, it forces us into this all-or-nothing mindset. If it's not 100% perfect, it's a total failure. Second, it gives us an excuse to hide behind endless preparation because we're terrified to start something that isn't flawless from the get-go. And third, it makes us completely blind to the progress we're actually making, so we always feel like we're behind.
Okay, so now that we've identified the enemy, it's time to fight back, right? The book gives us three really powerful and honestly kind of counterintuitive weapons to defeat perfectionism and finally get things done.
All right, weapon number one. And I'm going to warn you, this is going to sound crazy. I want you to take your big, ambitious goal and cut it in half. I'm serious. You want to run a marathon? Great. Your new goal is a half marathon. You want to read 50 books this year? Nope. Your new goal is 25.
So what's the logic here? Well, a huge goal creates huge pressure and a ton of fear, and that's what leads to procrastination. But when you slice that goal in half, you lower the stakes. It becomes way less scary, and suddenly it's so much easier to just start and build some momentum. And the funny thing is, Acuff's research found that people who cut their goals in half were not only more likely to finish, but a lot of them actually went on to blow past their original bigger goal anyway. Okay, weapon number two is even more radical. You need to actively, intentionally choose which parts of your life you're going to be mediocre at. You heard me right. You have to strategically decide what you're going to bomb or just do at a 60% level.
Look, the key thing to understand is that your time and your energy are finite resources. They're like a battery. You cannot be 100% at everything all the time. So to achieve something truly important, you have to give yourself permission to be just good enough at other things. Like the example here, an entrepreneur who's deep in a product launch. Maybe for a few months they're not cooking perfect gourmet meals. They're ordering takeout. They're not being irresponsible, they're being strategic. They're putting all of their energy into the one thing that truly matters most right now. And that brings us to our third, and maybe my favorite weapon. Make it fun. We've all been sold this idea that achieving our goals has to be this painful struggle, full of discipline and sacrifice. But the book argues that fun is a way more sustainable and powerful motivator than willpower will ever be. I mean, think about it. You don't need willpower to binge watch your favorite Netflix show, do you? Of course not. You do it because it's enjoyable. So the question is, how can you inject some of that fun into your goals? The book suggests stuff like maybe you only let yourself listen to your favorite podcast when you're out for a run. Or if you hate cleaning, just blast your favorite playlist and turn it into a race against the clock. When a task is fun, you feel pulled towards it. You don't have to push yourself so hard. So we've got our weapons, but let's be real. Finishing is a marathon, not a sprint. How do we keep that momentum going for the long haul? This next part is all about the specific tactics you can use to stay on track all the way to the finish line.
This is such a classic perfectionist trap. You have one of those perfect days. You ate super healthy, had a great workout, you were crazy productive at work, you feel on top of the world. But the real danger is the next day, because now your brain expects perfection again. And the second you slip up, even a tiny bit, you feel like a total failure and you just want to quit. The secret is to expect imperfection. You have to know that progress is never, ever a straight line.
Now, when it comes to tracking your progress, just forget about those complicated spreadsheets and fancy apps. The book recommends what it calls dumb tracking. And by dumb, it means simple, visual, and totally non-judgmental. The goal here isn't to analyze complex data, it's just to celebrate.
Seriously, simple methods like just putting a big X on a calendar every day you do the thing, or moving a marble from a to-do jar to a done jar, they work so well because they're simple and you can see them. You can physically see your progress piling up, and that gives your brain this satisfying little dopamine hit that says, hey, we're winning. Your tracker becomes your biggest cheerleader, not your worst critic.
You know, we all have these unwritten, secret rules that we live by that hold us back. Things like, oh, I can only write when the house is completely silent, or I can only go to the gym first thing in the morning. These are just excuses that perfectionism creates for us. Your job is to find these self-imposed barriers and then just intentionally break them. Try writing for 15 minutes while the TV is on. Go to the gym in the evening. Prove to yourself that good enough action is so much better than perfect inaction.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up. The entire philosophy of this book really, it boils down to one massive mental shift. Getting away from the impossible standard of perfect and moving towards the powerful, real-world achievement of just being done.
So here's your new toolkit in a nutshell. First, remember your real enemy. It's perfectionism, not laziness. Your weapons are to cut your goal in half, choose what to bomb, and make it fun. And your go-to tactic is to use simple visual tracking to celebrate every single win along the way. And this right here is the bottom line. If you take away only one thing from all of this, let it be this. Forget perfect, just finish.
So I'll leave you with this question. Don't worry about tomorrow or next week. Right now, what is one small thing, using these new rules, that you can decide to finish or even just start today?
I really hope this gives you a fresh perspective on hitting your goals. If you found this explainer helpful, it would be awesome if you could do me a quick favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share this with a friend who you know is struggling to finish something. It helps us out a ton.
And hey, if there's a book that you've been wanting to read but just haven't had the time, let us know down in the comments. We're always looking for great ideas for our next explainer.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'm Eric, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.